For the past 2 decades, yoga has remained the physical complement to my daily spiritual practice of mindfulness meditation, and it's one of the routine habits that gives purpose and depth to my life because of how and why I practice yoga every day, and also how my practice has evolved over my years of study and growth in the discipline. There are schools of yoga, certain schools, where distinctions are made between correct and incorrect postures, where every hair on your body must be facing the North Star, and so on. I don't subscribe to that. That's not how I want to practice yoga. It's not how I want to live my life. Early on in my study, one of my mentors told me to respect my body always, to challenge my limits but never exceed them. He told me never go to 100%, but instead extend to around 90%, withholding 10%. And even if I want to or can do 100, just to become situated in that space. He said that if I could get comfortable chilling out in that space, that the progress would happen naturally over time, and that the longer I devoted myself to my practice, the richer my experience would be. In poses with variations and modifications, I remember asking him one day which one I should do routinely for the best results. He corrected me immediately and pointed out that there my ego was attached to my desire for an imagined set of expectations, to achieving, in this case, my best results that I wanted for myself. He jokingly added that it didn't matter which variation I did as long as it was uncomfortable, and I always remember that. Why put myself in uncomfortable postures every day, focused on coordinating my breath with these poses, repeatedly doing this with no end goal in mind, I wondered. But now I see. By practicing in calmness, in safety, with deliberate intent and focus, that which makes me uncomfortable, it strengthens not only my physical form, my muscles, but more profoundly and cumulatively, yoga strengthens my mind, because it means that when stressful situations in life arise, which they inevitably do since life is an ongoing stressful event, that I'm better equipped to manage that stress and feel grounded in my emotions. I notice now that my entire posture, the way I carry myself, the way I walk, everything has transformed. It's made me so solid and so secure, a living embodiment of my practice. The deepest rewards have been revealed only after many years of dedication and self-discipline, time, energy, and commitment to practice each day. And my teacher was right in his guidance. Yoga will serve you the best when it's not being driven by your ego. And if it is, then you're only participating on the surface level of what is merely a physical exercise, which is not to take away the exercise component of yoga, not at all, but it's way beyond that. Yoga is, of course, a metaphor for existence, for balance, stability, flexibility, and acceptance, but most of all, it's an exercise, I believe, in humility and patience and self-compassion. It's not about looking any particular way or having a pose be quote-unquote right or wrong, or by forcing the body into any special form. It's none of those things. The way I approach it and life at this stage in the game is from a curious mind and a doing mind rather than one of striving or desire for any particular outcome. Letting go of expectation, in other words, has served me so well, both on and off of my mat. I've learned that if I think too much, it becomes a bore. Instead of using my energy to think, formulate ideas and potential outcomes, or become otherwise fixated on a goal or specific result, I focus on the doing. In doing, I make the most progress, the biggest growth, learn the richest lessons, and transform myself into a doer, not a thinker, not a dweller. I've learned to let go of the thinking mind that ruminates endlessly and inevitably lands in a place of anxious worry or regret or self-doubt. letting myself be just as I am, with all of my flaws and asymmetry, often falling out of postures because of my balance. It's not the same every day. It has opened me up and opened up so much space for flexibility and balance in my functional life. Yoga is how I can express and move my body freely, limitless in my skin, and indulge in the wonder of my human body and its physical capacities. With this, all of my self-limiting beliefs, unrealistic expectations, and overly critical judgments I have of myself are given the permission to melt away. Yoga is about exploring and appreciating my mobility. It's a celebration of my senses. Without constriction, without fear, I am most at home here when I'm practicing yoga. The moment I let go of my desires is the moment when I enter the thoughtless mind, and all that's left to be met with is my silent witness, my boundless consciousness, the essence of me without any thought or identity, completely without concept. And it's in cultivating and habitually revisiting this space that you find liberation and where the growth occurs. If you can meet yourself there with gratitude for your breath alone, then you've got it, and the rest is bliss. People frequently approach me expressing their desire to start a yoga practice, but they're unsure where to begin. The postures, I always tell them, will happen later. It starts with intention. It begins by going within and being willing to be present, daring to be still and quiet with yourself and nobody else, only you and your breath.